Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, family. Welcome to Secure Your Energy Live with Lashley. And before we get started, we're going to share our theme music because I was just wondering why it was not playing. But we're going to share our theme music with you today. Yes, yes, yes. Hopefully, it let us. Hope you guys are having a great, great day. Hope you guys are feeling blessed, being blessed. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about the FairTax Act and what it consists of. But before we do that, we're going to share some music with you guys. Let's see. Can y'all hear it? All right, all right, all right. Today we're having some technical difficulties because I wanted you guys to be able to. But at the end of the day, this is whoopsie. I knew it. It wasn't playing the theme music. Let's get the theme music. Let's go.
Answer. Because you are that, you are capable. You are gifted and you are so unique. All of the things that you may hate about yourself are your strengths. It's okay to be soft. It's okay to be opinionated. It's okay to be different. And it's so okay to just be. The world awaits to receive you.
All right, all right, all right. That is our official start to today's broadcast. Many blessings. Welcome to Secure Your Energy, and you're here with your host, Lashley. Welcome, buyback team. Welcome, all of the Secure Your Energy members. And you know what we're going to do. We're going to keep these stories concise and on point so we can continue to uplift the conversation in the Black community, especially the investors, people who are the leaders, the trendsetters. You need to know what's going on above what's going on in our celebrity streets. So today's topic is the Fair Tax Act. What is it? What it consists of, and let's get started because we need to figure this out because there's going to be some changes that's going to come up in the next year or two that we may want to be aware of. So the first um, reference we're going to share with you today is coming from channel 11 Alive that highlights Georgia Republican lawmakers to propose fair tax elimination income taxes. So let's get this started.
To the Gold Dome, where Republicans in the state legislature are calling to eliminate the state income tax. They want to replace it with what they call the fair tax. So here is a breakdown of that proposal. The new legislation gets rid of the income tax, eliminates the state's 4% sales tax, and replaces it with a new sales tax between 7.5 and 8%. The price tag for the plan is $3 billion in 2025. Republicans who favor this move say it would simply put the tax system and attract businesses to Georgia. Some financial analysts say the move would cause a huge tax increase for most Georgians.
So this is an introductory first because you know how it is. This is just getting our feet wet on the subject. They're saying that it will possibly change to a general tax of 7.5 to 8%, but it's way more than that. So we're going to start digging into this subject matter a little bit deeper because we already know that there are always fine print and details that we may not know because we didn't read the bill. So let's go into our next article. This is again, to apologize, we're going to play it and mute it. But this is again Georgia Republic lawmakers to propose and eliminated income tax. Now, this is the actual article. So let's go into a little bit more deeper because sometimes the article will give us more clarity. You know how the news do. So, Atlanta, Georgia maker learned Wednesday how much it might cost to eliminate the state income tax. A proposal a Republican lawmaker said he will make this year. The price tag is $3 billion in 2025. For years, conversations have broadly pitched switching to what they call fair tax. Okay, let's pause this real quick because I want y'all, you're going to be able to listen to this, what they call fair taxes. So let's listen, and then I'm going to finish the article.
Session is now underway. There is a renewed push to get rid of the state income tax.
Now, this may sound like a good idea on the surface. However, 11 Alive's Doug Richards learned today the price tag for the state could be $3 billion, and your family could end up paying a lot more for things like groceries and retail. Doug?
Yeah, a lot of conservatives for years have felt like income taxes are more painful to pay than taxes collected at retail establishments, sales taxes. And so what would happen if you just eliminated income taxes and substituted all that money with sales taxes? It appears Georgia lawmakers will get to explore that this year.
Completely eliminate the state income tax. It's time.
Former U.S. Senator David Perdue built his failed campaign for governor last year around what Republicans call the fair tax. Though voters rejected Perdue, Emory Donahue has embraced Perdue's tax proposal.
We bring forth a broad-based consumption tax. It's been broken for way too many years.
The proposal would eliminate the state income tax, eliminate the state's 4% sales tax, and replace it all with a new sales tax, which Donahue calls a consumption tax of 7.5% to 8%. That would be in addition to local taxes collected by cities and counties, putting the sales tax at around 16 or 17% in the city of Atlanta. A state audit says the scheme would cost the state more than $3 billion in 2025.
And really, for most Georgians, what this would represent is a massive tax increase, the largest tax increase of their lifetimes.
The fair tax would also require Georgians to pay taxes on groceries that are currently exempt from sales taxes. Fiscal analyst Danny Canzo says it would also burden lower income taxpayers with a larger share of state taxes than they pay now.
That's going to be less money in their pockets.
Republicans who favor the fair tax system say it would simplify taxes and that it would also be more business friendly. It was a pretty compelling issue for conservatives in last year's election year. This year is not an election year. Live in DeKalb County, Doug Richards, 11 Alive.
All right, that seems pretty harsh. That seems pretty big. First and foremost, I never knew that they didn't have taxes on food in Georgia because I've been paying taxes. When you go to Kroger, look at your grocery bill. Even when you go to Walmart, Walmart charges you separate taxes on food and a separate taxes on other goods. So I'm not sure what they're talking about, but maybe I've just been charged taxes. But imagine, okay, so what they're basically saying in a nutshell is that they will eliminate state taxes off of your check. There'll be no more state taxes, but the actual basis of taxes on foods and goods is going to go up between 7.5 to 8%. Now, we're still in a highly inflated market. On top of the actual pay rate has not reached the amount to equalize the inflation. And we know that a lot of states are still struggling just to give the $15 minimum wage, allegedly. So imagine coming home and let's say you usually pay $125 in state taxes, and now you're bringing that home. I would assume that a good amount of that, or most of it, or all of it, is going to be sucked up when you're going to the grocery store, buying products that's highly inflated, as well as smaller in size, and now it's going to be taxed a little bit higher. Now, they kept talking about how this would affect the actual state, but we need to figure out how it's going to affect us as actual investors, as people, consumers. Okay, this can be a major issue. So let me go into the article a little bit more. Let's just close this out and see, could we go into the article, if the article is going to give us a little bit more detail, because what end up happening is that they will give talking points on particular subject matters, but then give a little bit more in the article. So as we was reading, completely eliminating the state income taxes, it's time, former U.S. Senate David Perdue said in the video he released announcing his candidacy for governor in 2021. All right. Through voters' rejection, Purdue State Rep. Emery has embraced Purdue total tax proposal. We bring forth the board-based consumption tax. Duno said it's been broken for way too long, as you saw in the video. The proposal would eliminate the state income tax, eliminate the state 4% sales tax, and replace it with a new sales tax, which calls for a consumption tax of 7.5 to 8. That's double. That is a lot. This will be in addition to local taxes collected by cities and counties. So they're still going to collect their taxes. It will put the state taxes at about 16 to 17% in the city of Atlanta, and it's already high. The state audit says that the money lost from the income tax will far exceed the proceeds from the consumption tax, allegedly. Tax replacement is to the tune of 3.7 billion in 2025. The audit says that the deflect could grow larger in subsequent years. I'm not sure if that's true, guys, but we're going to listen to the article. We're going to be aware. Really, for most Georgians, what this would represent is a massive tax increase, the largest tax increase that of their lifetime, and it is. The fair tax will also require Georgians to pay taxes on groceries that allegedly are tax exempt, and I can show you receipts. They ain't tax exempt. Kono said it will be burden lower income tax payers with the largest share of sales tax than now paying now. That's going to be less money in their pockets, he said. So Republicans who favor the fair tax says it will simplify the tax system and attract businesses to Georgia, and an alternative uh, consideration or attractive conservative pitch in the campaign year, but many a tougher sell in the 2023 legislature. I'm not sure. Let's move on because this don't sound too good. And taxes in itself is not the best thing, but we don't want to be in a situation where we're going to be taxed more. So let's see what this can actually mean for us as citizens. So, as allegedly, this is going to go into a little bit more how it work and maybe some pitfalls. So, let's see if you can see this article. You can see it. So, a group of House Republicans are pushing to eliminate most federal taxes and replace them with a federal sales tax and plan that will also abolish the Internal Revenue. But tax experts warn the so-called FairTax Act is not fair to working families while giving the wealthy Americans a break. The bill, H.R. 25, would eliminate all individual and corporate income tax, capital gains, payroll taxes, and oh my God, oh wow, and estate taxes while imposing a 23% sales tax on goods and services. Wow. That is a lot. However, tax experts point out that the way the tax is calculated, Americans will pay closer to 30% more for everyday purchases. John Bly, researchers of the Tax Policy Center, says this will hit the middle class the hardest. Currently, there are deductions, both standard and itemized deductions, that help offset the income taxes, but those will be eliminated. Those people will see tax increases and they could be quite sizable. Bly said the middle three income qualities under the plan, while the bill would likely lead to a hike for middle income Americans, it does include monthly prebate for family dependents on size and income. So lower income families will likely not feel a big impact. They're still going to have to pay taxes at the store, but the greatest benefit will go to those with the highest income. The wealthiest of the wealthy will actually see the biggest cuts from this switch. Like middle income Americans, other Americans likely offer all will also face a greater tax burden if moving to a regressive tax system, tax experts say. The move will shift when many retirees pay taxes from when they are currently taken upon withdrawal from retirement accounts to purchases. Current rates are typically less than 30%. So the changes is how much they pay in taxes will depend on the consumption. And that is it. Because you can pay one set of taxes, but if you're consuming and you're consuming and you're consuming, it's the more taxes you're going to pay, but it can add up. For people with Roth IRA retirements account, there are also a threat that their money being taxed twice, since people pay taxes on the money when it was earned and pay again when it's spent. That's the current system. Students could also face a greater tax burden and they are charged at a higher rate when they buy something rather than on how much they make. The FairTax Act, introduced earlier this month by Rep. Buddy Carter of Georgia, along with a group of conservative Republican co-sponsors who claims the bill will simplify the tax code and make it more fair. I'm just going to say this before we continue down this article. Living in the state of Georgia and working in a lot of their corporate organizations, and I mean, otherwise, it's healthcare, and that's very, very important, and it can become very corporatized. There's a lot of try it type of approaches instead of evidence based. Now, I wonder where did they get this proposal that it will be more simple and more fair? Is it based on evidence based? Or is this something that they just assume? Because I've noticed this behavior in Georgia. They be assuming things, and then all of a sudden, the procedures change and change because they never really tested it out or follow evidence based practice. I'm just going to throw that out there because I can't go with them saying it's going to simplify the tax code and make it more fair, because to get up to 30% in taxes increase, I mean, in consideration, they're talking about the 7.5% to 8%. Plus, we're talking about the county and or the state. Well, it's not the state, the county or the city taxes that they consume, because Atlanta has its own separate taxes. When you look at Atlanta bill, you're paying 3 different taxes sometimes on your tax bill. I mean, on your items that you buy. I do apologize. According to Grant Watson of the Tax Foundation, the shift might be simplification for any individual taxpayer because it removes having to deal with income tax rules, but will make it more complicated for businesses. Some of this is just shifting where the complexity is dealt with, basically. Similar proposals have been regularly introduced by the group Republicans since 1999, but have never been given the floor vote. Some conservative Republicans have been pressuring House Speakers Kevin McCarthy to change that, given the slim GOP majority in the House. This sounds a little fishy to me. I mean, leave your comments at the bottom. Tell me what you think. This doesn't sound too good for the taxpayer. Republicans have also anything they push for, it's going to put money in their pocket allegedly. Republicans has also been fighting to reverse billions of dollars of new funding for IRS enforcement, including the Inflation Reduction Act. But the Fair Tax Act would abolish the IRS altogether, instead outsources the work to states, which would be responsible for collecting the national sales taxes for the Treasury. So we need to focus in on what is going to be the national sales tax. Okay. Now, they're saying that this national sales tax is that considered the same taxes that is the consumption tax? Or is it going to be the consumption tax plus the county or state tax plus federal taxes? Because federal taxes is not being abolished. They're talking about state. Congress is facing a looming battle over the debate ceiling as Republican lawmakers call for the U.S. to rein in suspending. But tax experts believe a move to a national 30% sales tax could deepen the defect. Oh my God. The grant pointed out that the proposal rate was determined years ago, and so it is outdated. So analysts over the years suggest it would take over closer to 40% sales tax for such plan to break even. The proposal, because it's inflation. The proposal is currently broad, in which goods and services Americans would pay taxes on, so any exemptions would put a further debt in collections. And you know we already have billions of dollars in debt. This is a lot. This is a lot to take in right now. So I really hope you guys are starting to process this may happen. And are you prepared for almost a possibility of a 30% tax increase? So let's get into this. This is US Today, a 30% national tax sale, abolishing the IRS, what the Fair Tax Act would do in 2023. Now let's get into it because this is we're far ahead of our time, prime time. I think we're getting into deep waters here. Okay. I really do. I really think that some things is going to happen, and I hope that our lawmakers are smart enough not to do this because it's going to hurt the middle income families. Let's Here's what to know for the state for tax season 2023. One, our 2023 tax bracket is the same as 2022. No. Hold on. The threshold for each of the 7 state tax brackets, I'm sorry, I missed it. The sooner you file, the better. If you file your taxes before others, you will be among the first to receive your refund. Most IRS taxes will file taxes over the past. And we're going to move on because that is not talking about our subject. That's talking about filing your taxes. And we understand we're in tax season, but right now we're going to move forward. So there is hardly an area of America life more subjected to partisan debate than the tax code. Okay. Yes, this has been a debate for years, and this is how they keep us going against each other. Democrats want to raise taxes, Republicans wants to slash them. At least that's how the well-worn narrative goes. But in actuality, debate over the IRS and how much Americans should fork over to Uncle Sam can be more complicated. Not all lawmakers of the certain cause align. Take the example, the Fair Tax Act of 2023, a new bill campaigning by some GOP House members, but not all. The idea for this legislation, a universal applied sales tax on consumers' goods and services, has been around for a long time. Primarily, it gains new vulgar, and it has this year. And it's so crazy How can you put 30% on a service that you have nothing like? My service, what we do for tax liens and tax deeds, we consult. So meaning if I consult with you, I will have to charge you 30% to talk to you with my knowledge and pay the government. Right. Here's everything you need to know about the proposed bill and how it will work. Tax season 2023 officially started. Here are key deadlines to keep in mind. I'm going to leave this links for you. What is the Fair Tax Act in 2023? The Fair Tax Act bill introduced in early January by the U.S. Rep. Earl Buddy Carter, a Republican of Georgia, proposed a national tax act on the use of consumption. We talked about that. The sales tax could be level levied in the place of current income tax, payroll taxes, and estate or gift taxes, which are outlined in subtitles A, B, C, and H of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986. The proposed legislation would repeal those subtitles and instead enact a new Internal Revenue Code, the Internal Revenue Code of 2023. Though the bill outlines a 23% tax rate, the gross payment or the payments for both taxable properties and services combined with federal taxes is actually closer to 30. The bill and brainchild of the fraction of the Republican Party does not yet have board GOP support and is unlikely to pass. We pray it don't. It will need to not only make it through the House, but also the Senate, which the Democrats majority. President Joe Biden has already said he will veto the bill should it defy odds and reach his desk. Okay, we're going to definitely need to pay attention to that. The sales tax levy would effectively replace both payroll and income tax, as we talked about. The proposed rate is 23% for 2025, 2 more years from now, to be adjusted in the subsequent years. It will fall to the state to administer, collect, and remit the sales tax to the Treasury. There are some exceptions to the taxable properties and services include use and intangible properties, property or services purchased for businesses, exports, or investment purposes, properties or services purchased for state government functions. The tax revenue generated would also allocate to 5 different categories: the general revenue, the Old Age Survival Insurance Trust Fund, and Disability Insurance Trust Fund, the Hospital Insurance Trust Fund, and finally the Federal Supplementary Medical Insurance Trust Fund. So they'll still be divvying that money to them. U.S. citizens will receive a monthly sales tax rebate, a family consumption allowance, wow, based on a certain guidelines outlined for family size and property. Oh, and poverty. So they're going to try to give us some type of allowance. Okay. The bill also cuts off funding for operations of the IRS after 2017 fiscal year, a possible pain point for Democrat lawmakers who have pushed for increased allocations to help with oversight. The bill's final provision is to terminate the national sales tax in the 16th Amendment of the Constitution, which authorizes the income tax is not repealed within 7 years of law being enacted, which authorized the income tax is not repealed within 7 years of the law being enacted. This is more of your 2022 text session questions answered. If you haven't, I'm going to put this article in there for you. Things are getting a little weird, guys, and I hope you guys are really paying attention because this is very, very important information. Now, let's go into another article. And this article is highlighting more about how the tax change would actually affect us, the rich. Okay. So the Tax Act would radically restructurize the national tax system in favor of the wealthy. Okay. All right, so let's see how this breaks down and see how we can make a little bit more sense of this. because we want to look at so many different points of views to make sure that we're going to be able to critically make an analysis of what to possibly expect, because we have to get prepared. Where are you going to put your monies? Are you going to put it in some gold to make sure that it's secure, that it don't lose its value because of the massive inflation and the increased poverty and the loss of middle class? You never know. You never know. So this article is brought to you by Cat and race. This it says the Fair Tax Act would radically restructure the national tax system in favor of the wealthy, and this was a February 8th article, 2023. We're getting more up to date articles because it started a couple of years ago and it's really been just washed under the bridge. All right. So, the Fair Tax Act would allow national wealthiest families to accumulate even greater intergenerational wealth, thereby widening the national already sizable wealth gap. Let's see how this makes sense. All right, the fear tax. We already know what they oppose. In theory, it's going to be about 23 to 30% tax increase on the middle class. Yet, described in more controversial terms, such as those used for existing state sales tax, the $30 paid in taxes is reality. 30%. Damn. Excuse me. I'm sorry. 30% taxes on the cost of goods or services purchase. The new tax would apply broadly to nearly everything Americans buy, including goods and services, often exempt from state sales taxes such as housing, health care, and groceries. The Fair Tax Act includes family consumption allowance that will provide family with a prebate calculated as a percentage of the federal poverty level, designed to offset the taxes due on the baseline level of necessity. Yet it will also eliminate the earnings income and child tax credit that currently lifts millions of families out of poverty. By shifting the foundations of the federal tax system from income to consumption, the Fair Tax Act will cut taxes for the wealthy by increasing tax paid by low and minimum income retirees who lived off of Social Security and savings, as well as families who will be forced to pay more taxes on everyday goods and services. Meanwhile, high income families who spend less of their income on consumption and who have sufficient earnings to save sustainable fractions of their income would pay a smaller share of their income taxes. The proposed the Fair Tax Act would dramatically reduce federal revenue, requiring deep cuts in public services. The fair tax would introduce in the late 1990s, while comprehensive analysis of the HR 25 are not yet available. Prior analysis of similar plans have estimated that replacing the revenue raised by the tax eliminated by this plan would require a much higher tax rate. Now, this article is saying potentially 50 to 60% to raise some amount of revenue, the same amount of revenue. Oh my God, it's getting worse and worse. A high revenue national rate would impose an even greater burden on low and minimum families who spend all or nearly all their incomes on goods and services that would be subjected to a radical new taxes. And we do. The Fair Tax Act would increase taxes for working family while slashing taxes on the wealthy. So they give examples. The following examples illustrate how the Fair Tax Act would affect American families at different income levels and stages of their lives. Each example assumes that the fair tax percentage is 23%, tax including rates that are in effect in 2023, replacing the federal income tax, payroll taxes those families will otherwise owe for the year. To eliminate the income impact, the analysis first calculate the federal income and payroll taxes owed by each family, and then use the Federal Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Expenditure Survey, estimating the amount family will pay under the new law. This is an estimate. So this is a methodology. This is not facts, okay? Now let's give into an example. Let's go to a single parent with one child. A single parent in Arizona with one child and earning from wages of $37,896, who currently owes $1,324 in federal income tax and payroll tax, would pay more than 5 times as much under the Federal Tax Act. 30% rate and nearly 10 times as much. So basically 5 times as much as the taxes will be on this single parent, which would average about $7,300 under the taxes. 30% rate and nearly 10 times as much. If it hit 30%, it's gonna be 12,900 she paid. They paying taxes out of their income that is 37,000, which is gonna leave them about $25,000 or less in income yearly. Under a 49% rate, that is half of our income. We might as well don't even work. You think people don't want to work now? They ain't gonna never want to work. 49% rate, the rate needed for revenue neutrality, because they need 49% to allegedly balance things out, because that's what it's looking like. It went from 23 to 30. Now you see, as the articles increase by the dates that we're getting closer to now, it's going up to 49%. This bill shall not pass. We will pray on it. Federal income payroll tax owed currently, it will be $1,324 for a single parent in our current situation. Tax owed under the FairTax Act under 30%, allegedly, what they're proposing would be $7,300 out of that $37,000 income. So she'll be bringing home about $29,000 or $30,000 in a year. No one can live off of that. Not even one person. Tax owed for 49% revenue, and that is a neutral rate to allegedly balance the books. Literally, this person will suffer $12,930 in income off of the $37,000 base income a year. This is below poverty. They have a few different other examples, but let's go under the last example where they talk about millionaire, because we're going to leave this for you guys, okay? Let's read this together. A North Carolina family with 2 children and an income of $1 million, including $900,000 from wages and $100,000 in investment income, who currently pays $318,157 in federal income and payroll taxes, will receive a huge pay adjustment. $41,408. Wow. Oh my God. They was originally paying $308,000. I'm sorry, that is if we all was rich, this would be great. This is why I think the Republicans love this. Even using the 49% rate that approximate that rate needed for revenue neutrality, the millionaire family would pay only $69,000. Wow. This estimate reflects the fact that high-income families typically save an average share of their earnings. And it's because, like, they could buy more in bulk, more from wholesalers, saving on taxes. We buy in little proportions more readily, so it's more taxes added. And this is what they're saying. This is how this makes sense. So a breakdown is federal income tax currently owed on an income of $1 million with a wage investment of $100,000 and the wages of $900,000 and the investment $100,000. I do apologize. They'll be paying $318,000 about. If the Fair Act is passed at a 30% rate, they will only pay 41%, $41,000 at or about. Now, this is based on consumption, and this is methodology. But this is, whoa, this is terrible. So if they wanted to get to neutrality, you could neutrality because you already know when something is put into place, it's an idea. And sometimes you don't hit that number. Maybe it go above, maybe it go below. But when it comes to taxes, it seems to go above. So what that goes to say, taxes owed under the 49% revenue neutrality will only cause this millionaire to pay $69,838 in taxes. So, we're going to share this with you guys because this is something that you need to read for yourself. Something very, very important that I think you guys need to review because we need to be aware of what certain lawmakers are trying to pass. People who participate in the voting system need to understand the type of bills that's coming through and how to stop them or push them through. And in this case, I don't think that we want to push this through. But we're gonna move forward and we're gonna get into one more portion of this, and we're gonna leave the articles for you. The last portion that I'm gonna show, because we're about 40 minutes into the broadcast, is the HR 25118 Congress Act of 2018. We want to show you where you can go and go look for this information yourself. We need you guys to be aware of where you're going to find your local laws and congressional updates. And here you can get it at congress.gov. And this is the actual bill. You can Google HR 25 Fair Tax Act, and this will come up. You're going to look for the actual search engine that has .gov in it. If it does not have .gov in it, it may not be a credible website. Please, please, please pay attention to the websites when it says .gov. Okay? So here is a copy of the summary of the bill, and we can listen to it, and we're going to listen to it together. Okay?
There is one summary for HR 25. Bill summaries are authored by CRS. Shown here, introduced in House 01092023. FairTax Act of 2023. This bill imposes a national sales tax on the use or consumption in the United States of taxable property or services in lieu of the current income taxes, payroll taxes, and estate and gift taxes. The rate of the sales tax will be 23% in 2025, with adjustments to the rate in subsequent years.
Wow.
There are exemptions from the tax for used and intangible property. For property or services purchased for business, export, or investment purposes, and for state government functions. Under the bill, family members who are lawful U.S. residents receive a monthly sales tax rebate, family consumption allowance, based upon criteria related to family size and poverty guidelines. The states have the responsibility for administering, collecting, and remitting the sales tax to the Treasury. Tax revenues are to be allocated among 1. The general revenue, 2. The Old Age and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund, 3. The Disability Insurance Trust Fund, 4. The Hospital Insurance Trust Fund, and 5. The Federal Supplementary Medical Insurance Trust Fund. No funding is authorized for the operations of the Internal Revenue Service after FY 2027. Finally, the bill terminates the national sales tax if the 16th Amendment to the Constitution, authorizing an income tax, is not repealed within 7 years after the enactment of this bill.
So basically, they're looking to repeal or abolish the 16th Amendment that authorized the income tax. And if it is not repealed within 7 years of the enactment of the bill, the Constitution would officially be amended. Okay. And the 16th Amendment will be abolished. So this is why we have to know law. We have to understand what position these laws play in our everyday life and how it can affect us. So today's broadcast was very, very informative. I pray that you guys learned a lot. We're going to leave all the links in the description So make sure if you don't see it tonight, please check back first thing in the morning. Buyback team. This is a very, very important bill that you guys should pay attention to, because if this bill is enacted, it will change our life. It will, in some aspects, seem to greatly increase the already widening gap between the middle class and the elites. So, thank you for being with Lashley, Primetime Home Buyers, our sister page where we get deep down into the trenches, into topics that can be heart wrenching to actually face, but we have to talk about in the Black community, in the financial community, because our goal is to build generational wealth, and that is done through financial education, making smart financial moves, investing in land, and being the first lien holder. Baby, welcome to the buyback team.
Would you like to learn a brand new and innovative way to invest your extra money that has a low barrier to entry and low competition? What if I told you that it is a guaranteed method to get up to 18 to 20% return on your investment? Tax lien and deed purchasing is the only way to get into the real estate market through the back door. No credit and no loans needed. This method isn't commonly taught, and therefore the competition is very low, for now. Put together a 14-hour info-packed course which will teach you everything you'll need to know to get started. Learn at your own pace, step-by-step guided video and aids to start you on the TLC deed investment process. The course offers many learning tools for new investors, helping ensure you safely invest in tax liens and deeds. Contact us today and join the buyback team.
Have a good night.
Answer. Because you are that, you are capable. You are gifted and you are so unique.